Hello there and welcome to the Big Q. My name is Fiona Mbabazi and today I have the pleasure of hosting the current Speaker of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, Honorable Daniel Kidega. Thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for giving me time to be here.
So you've been in Kigali for almost 2 weeks now, and of course you've passed certain bills. Take us through briefly some of your sittings.
Yeah, thank you. We are very glad to be back home in Kigali, this beautiful city, very clean, very smart. Kudos to the leadership of this country. We reported here 2 weeks ago and we have transacted a lot of business. We are very grateful to the Right Honorable Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies and the President of the Senate for giving us all this space to do our work. We started here with a glamorous address of the Assembly and opening our meeting by His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of this republic, who took us through deep discussions and encouraged us to respect our duties and to work hard to liberate the African people from poverty and bondage of all kinds of social evil. He also told us how we should work hard to make sure we remain a community, but not just mere neighbors. And we should stop undermining our togetherness or our solidarity, but rather work to promote the regional integration, for which we are very grateful to him for the wisdom he gave to the Assembly. We then move on to transact other businesses where we passed one law already and 2 reports. Specifically, the law we passed was a gift to the women of East Africa. That was the bill on gender equity, equality, and development, which we passed on the 8th of March to say thank you and celebrate the Women's Day. And the bill seeks to empower women and men to work together in the development agenda. And I can't go deep into the details. I invite viewers to go on our website, look at the bill. The other reports which we passed, one was on the issue of the pastoral life of our people in the border communities of Kajiado and Longido, how the pastoral communities relate, how they are enjoying the projects under the Common Market Protocol. And we found out that yes, the pastoral behavior of free movement, free range herding of cows is as old as humanity almost, and it is ongoing. The community is one. They don't respect the borders. And the negative thing we found in the report is that the children are not getting adequate education and infrastructure to aid development are minimum among the pastoral community. And we came out with the critical recommendations to the governments and the community. The second report was on the railway master plan of the region, specifically the standard gauge railway project in the northern, southern, and central corridor to help to improve transportation of our goods from the ports to the inland. We found out that most countries are on target, but the other negative aspect that, or the challenges that they have found in were issues of like procurement that is being done on country basis, yet if we did it as a community, it could be cheaper, faster, and more efficient. And also some misbehavior of some private individuals who went to buy land along the path where the railway will pass seeking for compensation.
Corruption.
And that's corruption generally. And the question of the variation in land tenure system that affects the cost and variation. So we passed the report and with clear recommendation to the partner states and the community.
One people, one destiny. It is, of course, a slogan for the East Africa community.
Yes.
But do you believe that indeed we do have the one destiny eventually for East Africans?
The African people, the black people, definitely have one destiny. And even our challenges are common in nature. There could be variation in magnitude. So I'm a deep believer that we have common destiny. The East African integration is not an end in itself. It's a strategy for us to realize eventual unity of the African people, to become a strong group, a strong market, a strong competitor in the global economy. So we have a common destiny.
One of the major challenges that you highlighted during your opening speech of the session here in Kigali was, of course, funding, in terms of budgeting. You do have the activities, you do have the will, but you do not have funding. What do you think needs to be done to encourage the partner states to partake in this?
Yeah, as we speak now, we have one of the biggest challenges of our time, unprecedented financial problems in the community. most of the community programs within the organs and institutions of the community are not ongoing. It is only the donor funding activities which are dragging on. Even
donor
the donors,
funding.
yes, donor funding. And they are not also 100% being implemented. So the problem is arising out of a lack of honoring of commitments of partner states to remit money to Arusha based on the budget that they pass, based on the commitment that they are put in place that they will send money to the community. So my appeal critically is to our partner states, to the governments, that this project is ours. It is not a choice, it's a must. It's about survival quest. And I think we should work so hard to make sure we take charge of it. We should not leave it in the hands of foreigners to drive the agenda.
Absolutely.
Because these are the people we are developing strength to compete with. So it's a serious challenge. As I speak now, this afternoon, the Assembly is going to be seized with a motion to debate the question of the financial situation in the community and the viability of the project. So it's a serious matter, and I appeal to every actor, including the media, you people, to amplify our voices to the partner states to make sure we honor our commitments.
Now, we do encourage questions from, the public out there, and Emma on Twitter asks, how do we solve trade wars? Businessmen have complained, and we've seen conflicts between South Sudan, Kenya, and Uganda. How do we solve this problem?
Thank you to my good friend Emma there. I think, the philosophy of our integration is that the integration is private sector led and people centered. So we are very alive to this deep philosophy of how our integration should be driven. We engage with the private sector so deeply in every partner state we go. Last week, we had a very good working dinner with the East African Business Council, particularly the Rwanda chapter, on questions of what affects them. I can highlight two examples to my comrade there. That one of the things we have done was the enactment of the elimination of non-tariff barriers bill, which is helping to make sure trade is smooth. Roadblocks, other corruption tendencies which block and make movement of goods within the region difficult is eliminated. That's one. Two, we are aware of the 2007 post-election conflict in Kenya, in which traders lost a lot of property, mainly traders from Uganda and Rwanda. They petitioned my office. I got the petition because I thought it can best be handled by the Parliament of Kenya. We took the petition to the Republic of Kenya National Parliament through the Right Honorable Justin Muturi. We had discussion. I tabled the petition to him, and I thank him so much and the Parliament of Kenya through their relevant committee that took up the matter expeditiously, and they're processing and pushing to make sure the government of Kenya compensates these traders. That's one. And several petitions. Right now, as I speak, a group of soft drink companies, Coca-Cola, Wrigley, and several others, have petitioned us on the question of industrial sugar import in the region. So we attend to private sector issues through legislations, through oversights, through petitions, and we make sure their conflicts are attended to.
But do you follow up to ensure that, for example, 2007, we're now in 2017, we still have these people, the Kenyans, who haven't compensated, let's say the Rwandan traders, the ones in Uganda. Do you actually follow up to see that this is done?
Yes, this petition came to the Assembly just less than 5 months ago, and we have already moved this far that the Parliament of Kenya is already discussing it, and the relevant ministers are also being seized of the matter. So on our side, the matter was brought to us late. Had it been brought yesterday, we could have even concluded the matter by now.
John Dangote on Twitter says, countries that face strife, for example, South Sudan, we have seen Burundi. Does EALA have the mandate to stop this? Many people have died, and we felt that EALA wasn't doing anything.
To the contrary, I think we have done a lot. If you look at the epicenters of this conflict, from the political conflict in Burundi, in South Sudan, and other parts of EAC, in our functions, traditional function of Parliament as legislation, oversight, and representation, we do work on this conflict. There are activities that have been initiated by both the Assembly and the Summit or even Council to make sure that these conflicts are addressed. On the side of Burundi, you know very well that there's the dialogue going on, which is an initiative of the Summit, which the Assembly do support so much. On the side of the Assembly, we received petition from the civil society led by Pan-African Law Union on the Burundi issue. We processed it. We invited all the conflicting parties of Burundi to Arusha. did public hearing, and came up with very sensitive recommendations that has allowed for participation of other stakeholders to see that the Burundi's situation is handled. In South Sudan, as you know, there's a CPA in place. Our role now, this is our new entry, a new member of the community. Yes. We are going to enter into that country and also see how we can contribute to make sure that we pray and urge government and all participants in the governance process and conflict to make sure the guns go silent.
What if the guns don't go silent? Because we have seen this happening year in, year out. Yeah. You know, small conflicts, small poking of each other. For example, in the Kenya-Uganda Migigo Islands, it's something that has been going on for years. When do you put your foot down and say enough is enough?
You see, the one encouraging thing that I need to give to the viewers out there is that conflict is part of life. What matters is how you manage it and your reaction and perception to those conflicts. So we should have a positive mindset toward dealing with conflict, and we should know that conflict is not a permanent feature of our society. So as assembly and as community, EAC, we must develop greater capacity to preside over our challenges. I'd love to see us have a political union where we have a common political authority that can direct things. But right now, the East African Community Center at Arusha does not have a lot of political authority. So we try within the means and legal framework that we have in place. Yeah.
I'll just jump into the political federation because that is one of the pillars that where we are trying to head. Do you believe in the political federation?
I am very positive about that.
Do you think it will happen in East Africa?
It may not happen now, but the East African people will one day have a unitary government under the political federation. It is the political will is there. It is just little suspicion and a bit of patriotism and nationalism uncalled for, which is still holding back and might be time. We will reach there.
Who is EALA accountable to?
EALA is accountable to the people of East Africa. We are the people's representation.
And when do you report to them?
We report to them. Like right now, we are reporting to the people through this talk show. I'm very grateful to you. We report to them when we go back to our electorates, who are the members of parliament. We are elected through the national parliament and report directly to them. There's a legal framework of how we relate with the national parliament. But not only that, we have reach out programs, sensitization of the people about the integration agenda, the petition that people bring to us that we attend to. Those are all representation aspect of our existence and reporting mechanism to the people. And I want to appeal to the viewers out there that EALA is your place. If you have any issue, please come in a way of a petition, in a way of summoning the relevant committee, and bring your issues and we address them in the realm of regional integration. Yeah.
We take a short break, but when we come back, we still ask questions to the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly. Do keep it the big Q. Welcome back and thank you very much for keeping it big Q. We are still talking to the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, Honorable Daniel Kidega. Thank you very much, sir, for talking to us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
We still have questions that are coming in, and we have one from Kaitesi Karache. She asks, some Burundi MPs absconded from coming, and just the other day, some Tanzanian MPs were also a no-show during a critical session. What is happening? Is this a sign of instability in the regional parliament? Should we be worried?
No, one, don't be worried, my sister. It's all be fine. Let me start with the Tanzanian situation. Last week, the United Republic of Tanzania, specifically two major political parties, the CCM and another opposition party, were holding their delegates conference. And the members of the Tanzanian chapter in EALA are part and parcel of the delegates conference. Some of them even hold leadership position in their parties. So they had to return home to attend those political organization meetings over the weekend. But in their air transfers, as you know, the challenges of air transfers in this region is real, it's a reality. They got delayed between Arusha and Nairobi, so we could not realize quorum, so I had to adjourn the House. But as you saw yesterday, they were fully in attendance, so that one should not worry you. The Burundi issue really, as I told you earlier, yes, some Burundi members of the Assembly, about 5, had raised a question to my office that they have security concern of their being in Kigali, Rwanda. And I asked them whether the concerns are individual or a national concern. They categorically said it is individual concerns. I said, if it is individual concern, then there's no problem. Through the office of the clerk to the parliament, we will talk to the government of Rwanda, just like we've done with all partners, to put in place necessary security for all members of EALA. And indeed, it happened. So when we reported here, at first the 5 were missing. Then within the week, one of them reported. So we had 5 members of Burundi chapter. Attending the assembly. The 4 have not yet reported. Maybe they'll report today. And if they don't report, we have a mechanism within our rules of procedure how we deal with absenteeism, which includes a motion on the floor of Parliament that can be referred to the relevant committee, the Committee of Legal Rules and Privileges, that if well processed, can lead to loss of seat in the assembly. You can lose your seat. So it's a serious matter, and we will handle it with the 4 members.
What challenges have you faced? We do know that one, you entered, you became the speaker, you were not, no one contested against you.
Yeah.
That was, one major hike for you. Yeah. But what challenges have you faced since you became the speaker, and what do you think should be done to see, it carried forward?
When I became the speaker about 2.5 years ago, the biggest challenge that I was faced with was first to bring unity in the assembly, and then reposition the assembly to the population, because we had had a difficult past where the image of the institution was not very good. So we need to repackage and rebrand the institution. And we did it by a way of work, by working hard, doing the right thing, reaching out to the population and making sure we clear the backlog, and that we have arrived somewhere. Immediately we accomplished that, the challenge of now time, because we had lost some 2 years, some 1 year plus. So the challenge of time and accomplishing our set goals became a serious challenge that I experienced, that we have been riding through and we are still going through. The other one, as I mentioned earlier, was the question of the resources to use to do our work. That has been one difficult situation where I have found myself and the assembly drawn back because of lack of finances. Right now, as I speak, my members are working without sitting allowances, so which I'm very grateful for them for sacrificing to continue work, because we must do the work before us. So financing has been a serious issue. The other one has been the politics in the region that you must balance very carefully without hurting other things, because this is a cooperation of many nations, 6 nations now, and all have got their unique interests and challenges in the integration agenda. So as a speaker, you must strike a very good balance with authority, then without compromise, to make sure the rules of the assembly is observed and many other things. I've explained to the media before the question of the expulsion, the attempted expulsion of some members of Burundi, the questions of some conflict within the partner states, the Mijingo you're talking about, the border issue between Rwanda and Burundi. So you must navigate with a lot of sensitivity and care to make sure you don't hurt the interests of partner states and promote cohesion and integration. That has been a serious challenge. The last one has been, some people thought I was too young for the job.
I was just about to ask you, don't you think you were too young to take up the seat?
One thing that young people there should know is that age is just a number. Commitment to doing right is another. As long as you've struck the age of 18 or say 25 and above, you are no longer young. You may lack a bit of experience, but once you have the focus and commitment to doing something, you must do it, and you can do it. And I thank God and my colleagues with whom we have worked. I think we have accomplished quite a number of, we have scored successes. So we have demystified that fear, and we have positioned the assembly back to where it's supposed to be.
So what can we expect the assembly to handle, seeing that you're winding up in June this year?
Most and very important for us is to leave a firm foundation for the 4th assembly to pick from. We want to leave in place a very strong foundation from where the assembly will move on from where we would have ended. One of the things we are doing today, if we don't finish today, maybe in May, is to amend our rules of procedure to allow, to save the work that we shall have not completed for the next assembly to continue with. And also to look critically on the matter of quorum of the House, to make sure that no partner state members or a group of members can frustrate the functioning of the assembly. So those are some of the things. But to be honest, our report card doesn't look so bad. we have accomplished quite a number of things.
Mohammed on Twitter asks how integration can truly be people-centered. To be honest, some of your legislators are not known in their back homes. When you look at them, they don't even know their names, but we know that they represent them. How does this
True challenge. You see, like Rwanda has 9 representatives that represent a population. If I looking at Rwanda, a population of about close to 12 million people, and the East African people are 160 million people, including South Sudanese. In the population of 9 members per partner states, 54 members, to effectively reach out to the 54 members to reach out to the 160 million is a huge challenge. So how have we been dealing with this? We've been working with the national parliament to make sure we report to them, and with the hope that the members of the national parliament will report to their local constituencies. But also, I must thank the media that has been carrying us on their shoulder to carry our messages to our representative. We have a sensitization program which my administration started to make sure once every 1 month for every quarter, we close offices in Arusha and we go to the population to engage with the population, report back to them what is going on. They get feedback from them what they think, and we move on. So it's still a challenge, but one step at a time.
For those who do not do this really, because I'm sure there are some legislators who prefer to take that as leave and go for vacation.
Not under my administration. That is not allowed. We check. You must write a report back. Yeah.
So how do we make sure that not only EALA members but the ESC, people feel part of it? People still do not know that we have the East Africa community. We don't know the functions. We do not know what they house. How do we make sure that people feel part and parcel of the East African community?
My personal opinion, I think we need to move out of the boardrooms and go to the population. This integration has been so much of the politicians and leaders conference and working in the boardrooms. I think it is time we moved out of the boardrooms, out of Arusha and the capitals, and went to the population. And I think we should also emphasize certain social aspects of our integration that gel people together. We've been talking so much of very technical things that the population even find it very difficult to comprehend or consume. Yes. I'll give you an example. If you look at the EU, when there is the European champion football, Europeans move from all partner states to converge with the football. Social tenets that unite our people must be promoted. I've been seeing one of our organization called Africa Mashariki organizing marathon. They organize a marathon in Uganda, in Rwanda. Now they're organizing one in Burundi. Such should be emphasized. I saw some young people cycling with flags of a partner state and EAC throughout, calling it East African Cycling Escapade or something like that. So we need to also involve social aspects of integration that bind people, that allow people to integrate, not only political and trade. Through that, we shall have more gains. And most important, implementations of what we have agreed on. For example, between Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda, East Africa now use state passes to move around, IDs. So if all of us allow free movement of people, free movement of goods, free movement of capital, practices of professional career people to do their practices in all the capitals without leaving a lot of work permit, resident permits. Students, let the student move freely, go to all these universities free of charge. Let them, it is sad that Rwandan student, Kenyan student, Tanzanian student, Burundian, and so they are still called foreign students in our partner states. So this should be avoided. Then the people will feel the integration.
And Theo asks, drawing from Brexit experience, do you think the regional integration is speaking the language of the citizens to make it more acceptable and to relate with it?
You see, I would encourage you to look at the treaty for the establishment of the EAC. The Brexit, yes, existed, but our mechanism, the legal framework which is in place, is so thorough that for a member to leave the community is not almost impossible. But even then, the call for unity of the African people is stronger than the call of other groups. For us, we have a common problem which we must solve together. And ours is a quest for survival. It's a quest for security. It's not a luxury. It's not only about trade.
Honourable Speaker, if, for example, today we had our own Brexit call, if I should call it that way, would you be surprised to see some countries pulling out of the East African community?
First of all, I don't foresee that happening, but if it happens, the rules are very clear. You can walk away, but you will not walk away from the responsibilities. The rules are very clear. You will continue fulfilling your responsibility as you entered. So we don't see that happening because I think we have put in place necessary mechanism to deal with the challenges that are in the community and how to continue the conversation to make sure we strengthen our integration. And I appeal to our various members of the population that nobody should harbor that kind of thinking, because this integration is not a luxury. It's a quest for survival. We don't need to. There's no option about it. It's not optional. It's a must.
And finally, someone asked, "What's next for you? What's your future like?"
My future.
Do we see you coming back into politics after June?
Two fundamental things. I belong to a political group where I come from in Uganda, whose vision is very clear. I am part of that vision, and I'll never quit being part of the vision on how to drive our country, the region, and Africa. The group I belong to have a strong ideological principle of Pan-Africanism, nationalism, social transformation, and making sure things are okay. So that dream, I'll stick to it. It is a life call for me. Where I'll be doing it is my personal decision now. As I leave the community, I'll go into farming and agribusiness and running my other private affairs. But I'll still stick within my political organization to continue to advance those principles I've espoused earlier. But if my government deploy me to do other work elsewhere, I'll just salute and take the job.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us.
Thank you.
Well, you've been watching The Big Q, and today I was speaking to the East Africa Legislative Assembly Speaker, Honorable Daniel Kidega, and he says integration is everyone's responsibility. Thank you very much for keeping it Rwanda Television. Do keep it here.